Swayzé.
Next of kin.
I was mildly curious.
Masterpiece, this is not.
Gee, I wonder what's gonna happen.
Next of kin.
Hillbilly Whisperer.
Hillbilly Aquaman.
Hillbilly Telekinesis.
Next of kin. Chad, are you gone? Are you still there?
I did not give a shit.
Manly, sexy Swayze. Broadcasting live from inside the power band, deep in our underground bunker on the island of Valverde, this is The Blah. In this episode, everybody dies. I'm your host, Kevin, along with my super great friends, Ben.
Hello.
And Chad.
How's it going?
It's going great.
That's good.
Folks, before we get started real quick, we want to remind you to join us online on social media. There's a conversation going there, a conversation that we are having with people that listen to our show. So join in on the conversation. We are on all social media using the handle @EBD Podcast. Love to see you. Hope to see you. Now let's get going with this latest disaster. We're broadcasting this week from the land of eternal fog, down in the holler, to bring you the 1989 masterpiece, Next of Kin.
Our first soirée into Swayzé.
This is almost a Bruce Miss miracle because it's our first Swayze movie.
Yeah.
See, masterpiece, eh?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'll give you the leeway on the intro there, but that's my Kermit the Frog.
Masterpiece.
Hi-ho.
I was just hoping one of you would do a little more froggy.
Why do birds suddenly appear?
Exactly. What if, how about, this would be a great mashup. Kermit the Frog meets Dana Carvey as the turtle guy in Master of Disguise.
Is he like the third roommate in the Christopher Lambert Booberry house?
He might be. I have to
Might be.
discuss that with Jared Higo.
How about, the the famous Seth MacFarlane Kermie as Liam Neeson in Taken?
Oh, totally. I just watched that the other day.
I have a very particular set of skills.
It's so perfect for this because it was completely like, this is the proto Taken.
I will find you, and I will kill you.
Really, really strong.
That's fucking legendary, man.
That is great.
Yeah, that was the one major theme of this one for me, was just how much of a Liam Neeson hillbilly Taken movie this was.
Jarhigo, if you could do some Briar lines as Kermie during this, I think that would be...
How would Kermie have a southern accent, though? That'd be tough.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if I can do Kermie with a southern accent, man. That's asking a lot.
No, don't do it with a southern accent. Just do the lines as they are.
Kermie as an Irishman trying to do southern accent?
No. Yeah, exactly. Kermie is an Irishman trying to do a southern accent.
That's not hard. You got this. Kev, why did you bring this one to the table? Because Masterpiece, this is not. Entertaining it was, but Masterpiece, this is not.
Chad, I was merely being humorous when I said that.
Okay.
And foremost. Secondly, as I explained, I think at the end of one of the other episodes, we've been getting a lot of requests for Swayze, Roadhouse. A bunch of people requested this movie in particular. And, this is another 80s sort of classic. It is a very weird movie. And I chose this one because it is weird and it's goofy and it's an action movie. And I definitely did not want to do Roadhouse first, for Swayze. Similar to Van Damme, Arnold, Stallone. Like, there's other movies that, we just wanted to do first before we get to what we feel are like the crown jewels of those actors' films.
That's fair.
So that's why I brought it. That's why I brought it to the table. I thought it was a good one to start off with. And man, is it ever.
Yeah, I'd never seen this one.
I haven't seen it in a long time. Ben?
Yeah, I never saw it. I wish I'd never saw it.
It wasn't that bad.
Now I wish I'd never seen it. Yeah, it's...
I dug it. It was quite a cast, considering how kind of, I don't know, out there the acting was at times.
The script is the terrible part of this.
Yeah, that's fair. The music is a close second.
The music is a close second. Benny, can you expound on your comment just to kick it off?
Well, I was gonna say, as the actors were mentioned, it's like they got a pretty decent cast together here. Just where the fuck was the movie for them to do?
Right.
I don't know, man. I was mildly curious, the beginning of the movie. Mildly curious with Patrick Swayze as the once hillbilly but now city slicker sort of hillbilly whisperer. Talking the hillbilly down off the ledge, and standing up for him when the other cop tries to jump in and get some action.
Do you get me? Do you get me?
That was one of the worst acted moments, man. Oh my god.
Totally. Combined with the ADR and his mouth not moving.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant.
Yeah, it's the minute the mob got involved, or really the minute our favorite red shirt Bill Paxton gets iced, and it turns out to be the mob. I was just over it. I was like, oh my god! All right, so it's hillbillies versus the Italian mafia.
Exactly.
I checked out right after that.
Noted.
I was like, how's it go? Gee, I wonder what's gonna happen.
Yeah, right. he sounds like me 2 shows ago.
Yeah, totally.
I love it, man. I was going to open with this because, I was like, surprise, this is a Bill Paxton movie, because we just talked about Bill Paxton at length in the last episode. So this is a Bill Paxton movie, just like all the others, even though he's only in it for about 10 minutes.
And in that 10 minutes, he figures out how to hum rap music.
Which is pretty awesome.
No, not rap music.
Rat music.
That was a really great scene,
round
man.
And round. Love will find a way, just give it time.
Are you going to do everything as Kermie? Because that was great. The final countdown.
Love will find a way, piggy. Just give it time.
I'm from the hills of Kentucky. I'm a cop in Chicago. I don't even know if that's any good or not.
That's good enough.
Good enough.
I'm going to hijack your Kermit segue.
Go ahead.
Your Kermit cul-de-sac, because for a moment there, when Patrick Swayze is a hillbilly whispering, I was like, is that Buffalo Bill?
Dude, it was.
And it was. It made me so happy.
I knew he looked familiar.
Right? I mean, this movie is populated by some incredible actors that have gone on to do some really incredible work. This particular piece of work is not one of those things. And I was blown away when I saw Ted Levine in this.
I was half tempted to do a Buffalo Bill line as Kermie, but I don't want to beat it to death.
No, dude, we haven't even begun to beat it.
All right, fuck me.
Next of kin, everybody.
Next of kin, starring Kermit the Frog as Buffalo Bill.
The thing that kind of, I don't know, maybe surprised isn't the right word, but it surprised me that this was the same director as Raw Deal.
God, yes. Totally.
Because it's essentially, between this and Raw Deal and Out for Justice, they're all kind of like a very similar thing in a way, like fish out of water.
Yes.
I don't know. They're like the same fucking movie, basically, but I enjoyed maybe the other ones more.
Strange adversary for the mob.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go. And both Chicago mob in both movies, interestingly enough. Yeah, this is Raw Deal, though, like Raw Deal actually has a cohesive story. I mean, the disbelief is that, Austrian Arnold is playing this Joey Brenner. You know what I mean? It's kind of ridiculous. But the story itself, like it flows and it moves, and it's pretty solid all the way through. A lot of times, like they talk about how writers, like the third act of plays and films and stories is usually not as good because like the writers have kind of blown out all their good ideas in the first and the second act. You know what I mean? And this movie very much feels like that. You know, if we're talking high level,
That's fair.
Such a thing.
I mean, the fact that the like ultimate action sequence is a bunch of people pretending to be fucking birds and crickets in a graveyard, like it was kind of weird.
Well, you know what, Chad? Yeah, you're right. And while I agree with you, like all of those things are cool in and of themselves. The problem is that like you're basically from minute one, you're waiting for the cemetery fight. Like you know that's coming, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You know that either the showdown is coming or now we're gonna get to see some real backwoods hillbilly fighting action, you know, and it lasts like less than 5 minutes.
There's gonna be a reckoning.
There's gonna be a reckoning in Chicago.
Exactly.
And it's so short. It sucks. That's the problem with the end.
They spent all the time developing why you're supposed to cure that it's going to happen in the first place and completely and utterly fail.
Exactly right.
I did not give a shit about any character in this movie. I really didn't.
I didn't quite get that bad about it, but yeah, I hear you.
Your vitriol is becoming legendary already.
Let the hatred flow through you.
Is that a Star Wars death for you, Chad?
It is. Thank you.
It's not hatred. It's just an observation.
It's just your observation, man.
It's just like my opinion, man.
Fair enough.
I kind of found that I liked the dude from the South coming up north and his family being pissed about it. Old schooliness to it. Like I totally understand what you're saying about the mafia bit. Just kind of takes it a bit too far, having the mafia be the opponent. But I don't know. I suppose I hadn't seen anything recently that was, you know, the prodigal son returning kind of thing. I dug it enough considering that I was like on board with the 80s-ness of the movie, you know.
There's some good things going on here. I mean, the story in and of itself is sort of, you know, the premise is somewhat interesting, but it's just like at the same time, it's like hillbillies versus the mob. And I mean, the thing to me in this movie was like everybody treats hillbillies like some sort of racial group or immigrant group. You know what I mean? Like even in the very, very beginning when he's the Hillbilly Whisperer, which I love.
It's like Alien Nation with hillbillies.
Right, yeah, kind of. But it's like they go, like the two cops are sitting in the car and they're like, let's wait for Truman. These are his people. These goddamn hillbillies, they're everywhere. You know, it's like we're in Chicago. Like, is there some sort of, was there a migration of some sort from somewhere?
Apparently there was there was a migration of the Appalachian community to Chicago at like in the 70s or something. So it apparently is a thing.
Oh, really?
Because I was confused about it as well, and I actually had to look it up and be like, oh, okay. But they didn't give you any backstory for it.
Oh, okay. All right.
At all.
No. All right, I didn't get that.
So it was very confusing, but, you know, apparently that is a thing.
That's really unfortunate because I think it would have been funnier if that wasn't a thing.
If it was just some random storyline.
Yeah, I thought they made it up for the movie, and I was like, this is just stupid. Like, how did I not see this when I was a kid?
The funny thing is they very well might have.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it kind of is a thing. Like, generally speaking, I do think that there's a pretty strong, broad brush categorization of people below the Mason-Dixon line of being like that from the perspective of a Yankee and vice versa, you know? So it plays on that bullshit. It plays on that, like, clearly incorrect stereotype, but people that don't know any better make those assumptions, I guess.
Fair enough. And putting it in a movie is not helping.
No, but it's also the 80s when there wasn't a hell of a lot of compassion for anyone that wasn't part of the elite group, I guess.
I just found it weird. So I didn't know that was a thing. I'm glad you said that. But like in the beginning, when he's like, these are his people, it's like, you know, wait, hold on. You know, they're Polish and nobody speaks Polish and he speaks Polish. So we need him to go in there. You know what I mean? It was like they're treating it like something like that. And it's like, these are just people from the woods. Like, it's not like they don't speak English, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Swayze's hair now, or should you want to wait on that?
Let's talk about it now. It's pretty good.
It's it's sort of like the same mullet he had going on in Roadhouse, but he ties the bottom back, which just was super weird, man. I don't know. I just thought it was bizarre. And the hat and like, I don't know.
Yeah, the wardrobe choice was really bizarre. I thought that hat was just goofy.
Well, it was because it was like a fedora. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, it's not like a cowboy hat.
It was kind of like a fedora, but it was almost more like a, it was like a cross between a fedora and a hat you might wear with like Lederhosen or something.
There you go, right? So sort of like a mountain man's cowboy hat ish.
Yeah, the mullet, the weird mullet ponytail, but it sort of looks like a double ponytail because like the other hair from his mullet is still like hanging below the ponytail. It's really weird, man. Very interesting.
And the front of the mullet
Super weird.
kind of has like a, character creator hairdo video game low poly count kind of vibe going on.
It's kind of like a variation on the Triple H dude with long hair who does the ponytail of the top part but leaves the rest of the hair hanging low. The sort of Gary Sharon.
Right.
Yeah, like a samurai kind of tie up.
No. Well, I don't know. I don't know if samurais did that. I thought samurais usually like had shaved bald fronts and a little ponytail that was like up in the back, but no hair hanging. Anyways.
Well, no, there's that, but then there's also like they'll pull back just the top and tie that into a ponytail.
You know what it is? It's the Qui Gon Jinn.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, it's
which is topical.
to drop a Neesen reference, yeah, and another Star Wars reference, yeah. It's a Qui Gon.
The top not, but with the back still hanging low. It's almost like a variation on a mullet.
I gotta say I didn't pay that much attention to the hairdo. I mean, I definitely saw it and thought it was dumb, but I didn't know we were gonna do a whole segment on it.
Hey man, Swayze doesn't follow convention.
You know what? He doesn't.
He's not afraid to just do things his way. So if you got a mullet and you just wanna tie the very bottom of it, then you do that because you think it looks good with your dumb hat.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about Swayze too, just talk about his greatness for a second, is that it doesn't matter. He can rock a ridiculous hairstyle, mullet, ponytail thing like that, and he's still manly, sexy Swayze. His power.
Is that like a TLC album?
Manly, sexy Swayze?
Yeah.
Totally, dude.
It definitely
Follow up to Crazy, Sexy, Cool.
He's that his virility is that intense. It's like he can wear something as ridiculous as that and it doesn't even matter.
He's a stud, man, no doubt about it.
He's a total stud, dude. So let's why don't we take this opportunity to go down into the holler and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the trip down south, man, is worth chatting about for sure. It's, I think, one of the less conventional kind of components of the story. So many cop revenge mafia movies are out there, but this is the only one I know of that has a
hillbilly component. Yeah,
particular southern bent. So I enjoyed it, but sounds like you guys might not have as much. But I kind of liked that bit. I thought it really fleshed out the tension he had with his family and the kind of his wife going down there and feeling really out of sorts, but wanting to connect with the family. I kind of dug that sequence.
I still didn't really understand what the tension with the family was about. I really don't. So he moved. I mean, people fucking move. What,
It's like, who cares?
Why is why were he and Briar so fucking venomous towards each other? Because he moved away. I mean,
it didn't. You're right.
No, it makes perfect sense, man. What are you talking?
Didn't get it.
I totally got the vibe when they're in the car and laughing later that it was they were bros, they were best buds, and then Swayze joins the military and comes back different, and now he doesn't fit anymore. And now Briar's I lost my fucking Robin to my Batman, and you're a prick for leaving the family. Fuck you. Now you're better than all of us. Fuck you.
Now you have a mullet. Now you have a mullet ponytail.
I got a kind of tall poppy syndrome thing. The tall poppy gets cut down. That was kind of the vibe I got.
Well, it was also, he was in the military and it was all big muscles, hard muscles.
Fair enough.
And then he comes back with the ponytail and it's game over. I mean, look, I get what you're saying. It's we're best buddies. You kind of abandoned me WTF.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I totally get what Ben's saying. And I'll even back up Ben's point by saying we discovered in the beginning that there was a exodus of, quote, hillbillies from Appalachia to Chicago or the cities in the 70s. So it's like we're already working on that premise in the movie, right? The first thing he does is he goes in to be the Hillbilly Whisperer to Buffalo Bill. So it's like it's already established that there are a whole group of hillbillies living in Chicago. I mean, the cops are commenting on it. Buffalo Bill's there. So what is the problem? Like, I understand that completely. It's like it's already an established thing. If they didn't have that established and Breyer was like, dude, then I could get on board with it a little bit more. So it's like, yeah, I get it. I mean, it's also sort of a classic story trope where, you know, it's like the one member of the family goes off and then they're sort of shunned because they're doing something different, you know? So I don't know. I kind of see both sides of it, but the way they set it up in the film, it was just kind of like, yeah, so what? So you moved away, like big deal, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like he was shunning his family. He's like still always talks about how he's a mountain boy and a hillbilly and a mountain man and all of that. So it's like he's totally proud of his heritage, you know? I can't believe I just went that deep on this movie.
No, it's that's the point of this sequence is to kind of make it plausible, whether you buy it or not.
No, I'm with you.
I just don't think they presented the relationships in this movie in any meaningful way or in any way that connected with me or made me really buy it or care.
Yeah, I dig that.
In any way. It just didn't.
And is that also for husband and wife for Swayze and Helen Hunt?
Yeah, I didn't really buy that either.
Yeah.
To be honest.
That was a little weird, but
they didn't develop enough of those relationships. I agree with Ben.
I mean, there's ways to do it without spending a ton of time, but you know, it's like everything is sort of exposition. It's just sort of there in the background for you to figure out and connect. And you know, they beat you over the head with some things, but it's not in any way that's like meaningful. You know, it's not in any way that makes you feel like you care about the people in the movie. And that was my major problem with it. I just didn't give a fuck about anybody in the movie. I just didn't care. Like none of them mattered to me at all. Yeah,
that's interesting, man, because I kind of feel like Kev's comment earlier about the writing and the script being the likely culprit, like I think it's probably similar.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's some good performances in this movie from Swayze and, you know, from Liam and even all the way down to very young, baby-faced Ben Stiller.
Yeah, totally.
But
which is a very random role for him. I did not expect a Ben Stiller.
I think it's performed pretty well in a lot of cases. Not in every case, but in a lot of cases. It's just like there wasn't anything to deliver, you know? There wasn't anything of substance there to deliver, I don't think.
Well, there was some interesting ideas, and like you said, there was a strong cast and some strong performances, but I think you might have really hit the nail on the head, Kev, with the script being the weak point, because I did resonate with the trip down south, but I totally understand and buy into the character interactions and writing were such that it left you kind of not giving much of a shit. But
yeah, just to expound on, you know, what Ben's saying and what you're saying, like the characters are just thinly written. I mean, it's like, yeah, you want to have character development, but I almost think that the relationship development is almost more important.
Yeah. Well, even Paxton is so short, for example.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like we don't really get the depth of the relationship with him and Gerald. We don't really get the depth of the relationship with him and Breyer. Or the reason why there's so much vitriol other than the way he moved away. It's like, who cares? You know, and ditto with Jesse. So what I think is really happening here in this film is that you've got an incredible cast of lesser-known / up-and-coming actors that are putting as much polish on a turd as they possibly can. So we've got young Ben Stiller, who went on to do great things. Andreas Katsulas, who's done awesome things. We'll talk about him later because he's amazing.
Babylon 5.
Thank you, yes. Liam Neeson. You've got Helen Hunt in one of her first movies. Like, this is one of Paxton's first movies, one of Stiller's first movies. Like
Adam Baldwin,
man. Adam Baldwin is awesome. He's gone on to do so many amazing things. Like, there's so many people in this movie. Michael J. Pollard, who played Harold.
Oh, I love him, man.
Yeah.
The kooky, you know, sort of not curator, but he's the guy that runs the Flophouse. I mean, Michael J. Pollard was nominated for an Academy Award for his role in I believe it was Bonnie and Clyde back in '67.
And I loved him in Scrooged, man. He's so fucking great.
Oh yeah,
Exactly. And I loved him in also in Roxanne with Steve Martin.
Totally.
He was really great in that. You know what I mean? So you've got a movie that's populated by incredibly capable actors who really haven't even proven themselves yet, like in terms of like, you know, chronology. Like all of those guys went on to do great things, you know, and we've done a couple of movies like this where it was like, you know, their first or their second film, and they're saving the script because they are dialing it in about as 110% as they possibly can. And even the performances can't save this film, but I think that they elevated enough to make it decent, quote unquote. You know, I get it. It's like, yeah, you know, you go down to Kentucky and it's like sets are great. Everything's great. We get the whole thing with like how they feel about each other and family and how important it is. And, you know, the young brother was killed and now it's a blood feud and we got to do something about it. Like all that stuff was communicated fine. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just that once we get past the halfway point in the movie, it's just like the energy and the expectations just kind of start to fizz out, you know, and the energy and the tension just kind of fizzes out too in general.
And maybe that's why I liked the down south trip, was because it was one of the few attempts to flesh out the characters. Even if it didn't succeed, like there was so little in the way of creating a three-dimensional character for pretty much any of the characters. So, but you're right, it does kind of drain the momentum.
I don't think that's what Ben's comment was. His comment is really more like we're not really still not understanding the relationship between him and Briar and the relationship between him and his wife, which are really more important, you know? So it's like the Kentucky part is great. They go down, it sets up so much stuff, and then they go back. It doesn't spend too much time, but it spends the right amount of time. The problem is that there's just no payoff for it later.
Yeah. He's
perfect as bringing like, you know, the Chicago wife down to his hometown and like her awkwardness there and all of that and how she sort of gracefully kind of moves through it, I thought was great. You know, and him kind of being on shaky ground with his family and all that stuff, you know, like it was all perfectly fine.
I think the more interesting film would have been, instead of making it this like revenge thing that's been done a million times and bringing the Italian mafia into it, just, I don't know, because they exist, especially in Chicago, I guess. It would have been a more interesting film for Patrick Swayze and Helen Hunt to go down to Kentucky and like hash out their family, you know, divide and get back together. You know, it's like Helen Hunt's pregnant, they're married, they're gonna have a kid, and they want to like reconcile with the family down south. And, you know, it would have been a more interesting film, I think, if it was just a drama and that was, you know, like that whole part would have been interesting. The whole Kentucky part would have been the interesting thing. The rest of it's just, you know,
dumb.
No, that's interesting, man, because it makes it jumps out at me that idea is not able to be accomplished because what's left is machismo. You know, you've got that scene where all of the dudes down south are like getting their guns and plastic wrapped sandwiches together while their wives are crying, knowing that they might not come back. Like, it's just the most machismo bullshit kind of thing.
This is so ridiculous.
And there's ridiculous like gospel music playing in the background just to like let you know that it's, you know, Bible mountain country or whatever.
But it's also to drive home that like the blood feud thing is a real thing and it's really important and sacred, and it's not just a bunch of people with revenge. It's like they have a duty, and it's just like hunter-gatherer tribal fucking bullshit, you know?
No, it is. And they still, even with the inclusion of those things that you just mentioned, Chad, it does not convey that this like blood feud is such an important thing. Like I think I could almost make an argument that that's really the central point of the film, and they just don't do enough to convey that, you know, or it's so poorly done, you know, like even like with Swayze, like it's like his brother gets killed and like really 3 moves later he's in the club talking to John Isabella, and he goes from I don't know anything about that, to like, in literally 2 moves later, he's like, I didn't have your brother murdered. I don't murder people. You know, it's like, whoa, wait, what? You know, like it just too thin.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, Ben, for sure. I think that it really gets anchored down by the machismo action skeleton that they hung all of these bits on. Like they just couldn't get away from it.
It's like they didn't know what they wanted the movie to be, you know?
Yeah, very much so.
Like they were making it up as they went along or something. It just really missed the mark for me because of that. I wish there was something funny to talk about here.
We opened up with some funny shit, so I think we can get serious.
You know, the worst thing is when a shit movie just turns into a complaint fest, and it's not like we're like, you know, making fun of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny things that happen throughout the movie that are just ridiculous because of the nature of this film. I mean,
dude, Adam Baldwin was, I don't know, like I'm sure he was trying really hard, but it felt really hammy to me throughout. He looked like an Ivy League Guido, which I just didn't quite understand.
I know. I don't. You know what's weird is it like in this and in Raw Deal, all of the mob guys are very sort of waspy.
Yeah,
they're kind of waspy, and I mean, Andreas Katsulas like is incredible of an actor as that guy is. He's too Greek. He is way too Greek to be playing an Italian mob boss. You know, like
yeah, they didn't seem Italian at all.
You know, it's like I don't know. It's again poorly written.
Yeah. Their mob scheme is robbing their own trucks.
Yeah, that was weird.
But see, that's the thing. That was one of my notes, Ben. So, like, it was never really clear to me why they were chasing the truck down and then subsequently killed Gerald. Was it because Gerald worked for Northside, who Papa John was trying to buy out, and that was some sort of tactic to get him to sell?
I think that's kind of the vibe I got, is like, shake it up, you might get it for a better price or something. But it's pretty jankety.
Super fucking jankety.
Because I still didn't really understand it until right now.
On the mob thing, like, what comes to mind is maybe this and Raw Deal are so weird because they don't follow the traditional mob tropes, but at the same time, the only mob movies of note that I can recall are the Godfather movies and the Untouchables. All of the other big ones, you know, like Goodfellas and all that stuff came later, so...
That's true.
Maybe it's just kind of like our framing of it is a little different. I mean, obviously you've got the Godfather, so it really sets the stage, but this and Raw Deal just don't go down that traditional route, I guess, and maybe that's why it's so jarring.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like you said, very waspy. Adam Baldwin looks like an Ivy League mob guy.
Dude, he looks like he should have a sweater tied around his goddamn neck.
He does play a great douchebag, though.
He does. The whole time I was thinking about Gino from
Gino Felino, the Italian salami.
Yeah, exactly. The Italian salami. You sure know how to pick them, Kev.
Hey, man. You know, it's this is a proper disaster, this movie.
But I like the young Ben Stiller that you dropped in there, because my God, the whole let's throw a young Ben Stiller in to work at Daddy's office so that we can then kill him off and make this whole thing come together at the end was just the most like fucking ridiculous rivalry between him and Baldwin, and oh my God, it's just funny.
It was well shoehorned into the story.
Yes, and it's all there so that at the end it can be like, the mafia, we're all about family. You hillbillies understand that because you're all about family too. Hey.
Is this feud between our families over now? Yes, it is. Then we may go in peace.
It's just silly.
Ugh, so bad. It would have been way cooler if it just hadn't been the mob. I think that would have been a way better thing. But actually, if this movie was just a movie about them going to Kentucky and it was a drama, I think Chad said, I think that would have been just...
No, Ben said it.
That Ben said that would have been the best thing to do.
But you would have missed out on the like bird calls and cat and heat calls in the cemetery action sequence.
Crossbows, man.
It was straight up like the guy that wrote this, or when they were putting the team together, they got one of those old like weapons catalogs and like, what can we order from this to put in our action sequence?
Yeah. Swayze like hands in his badge, that whole thing, and then he goes and he gets Briar's shit from Michael Pollard, and then he's like, I'm gonna go kill some guys with a bow and arrow.
Get my kin coming up. But he doesn't know they're coming up. They just sort of magically appear. They use their sort of hillbilly telekinesis to figure out that he's in the cemetery having the showdown. Then they show up and he's like, "Oh man, I'm glad you guys are here."
How about that?
How did they know that?
With their wrapped peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in a basket. Hey, we brought some peanut butter and jelly if you're hungry. You hungry, Truman?
Y'all want a sandwich?
We got some sangies.
PB&J.
We got some goober grapes on the snake bus for you. Hillbilly telekinesis. I love that.
I so thoroughly have a gripes of Cab about that final fight sequence, man. Oh my god.
The final fight is
But my only gripe was like, well, I should maybe pull back from that a little bit. My only gripe in this particular I can't even say that. A gripe in this scene. I've got plenty of gripes, but a gripe in this scene is the calling, like the fucking cricket sounds and cat calling, and like, okay, I get what they're going for, but you've got a bunch of mafioso dudes with submachine guns, and any sound you make, they're going to be like, oh, the guy over there barking like a fucking dog is one of the guys. Like, there's nothing plausible about making bird sounds so as to camouflage where you are. They're just going to be like, oh, the dude tweeting like a fucking bird is the guy I got to shoot next, and then the guy screaming like a fucking dead cat is up after that. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you mean. It just, it was completely pointless because it wasn't subtle enough.
There's nothing stealth about it.
Well, exactly. They weren't using it like, stealthily to communicate. It was like all of a sudden there was just this cacophony of noises.
It's like a fucking zoo.
To the point that all the mob guys are like, holy shit, what was that? Jesus. Like, dude, you're in the middle of the city.
I took it as like an intimidation tactic.
Yeah, fair.
Like they were sort of announcing their presence, like Negan's people in The Walking Dead would do the thing, like whenever they showed up. Like that's the way I took it.
That's more plausible, but I still want to be salty about it.
They were trying to be stealthy and let Truman know they were there. Like there's no reason for 40 of them to like just
I agree.
Start busting out the library of woodland animals.
Yeah, it was a little ridiculous, man. And again, as I said, like in the beginning of the show, like it's just too short. The whole thing's too short. Like if they had done it, if they had structured it where like, all the guys split up and then one by one, you kind of hear the creepy sounds, but they're more subtle, to like in the sense that they were using that to really freak them out. It just kind of becomes this stupid, like, let's all just fire off all the rounds of our submachine guns blindly around the cemetery. And then like, there's arrows coming in from here and there, just killing these dudes. It's
the old Revolutionary War era fighting tactics. Where like, your 12 guys stand in front of my 12 guys and we shoot at each other like honorable soldiers. It's like, nah, man, that's not how it goes.
But they did manage to kill a guy with a snake bus. I mean,
that was pretty sweet.
They shoehorned that shit in there, much to Harold's delight, too. For some reason, Harold was just really, really delighted by that. He was like, oh, boy. Oh, they killed him with snakes. Oh.
The snake bus is just like, the dude loves snakes. He mumble raps to his snakes in Kentucky, and then he is like so stoked that Harold is liked by his snakes, and he's got a bus full of snakes, a school bus with the normal glass windows and the normal glass doors and all that stuff. And then he's like, all right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rip them all out of their fucking aquariums or whatever, Solaire, whatever the fuck they're called.
Terrariums.
And throw them around the place like fucking Indiana Jones. And we're going to lure a guy in here, and that's it. And then I'm done. It's like, okay, dude.
Oh, it's so dumb.
It's like, dude, don't you care about your poor snakes? I mean, I'm sure the guy like took a few snakes out before he got, I don't know, snake murdered.
No, I agree, man. Like you can't if you loved the snakes like that guy does, you wouldn't want to put your snakes in harm's way.
Yeah, why would you put him in peril?
I mean, it's not like he's like Aquaman of the Hillbilly Hills.
You got a fucking snake trident,
or sort of like like it's not like Beast Mastery, you know what I mean, from City of Heroes, where it's like you're commanding the snakes to do your bidding, or like Hillbilly Aquaman. Exactly, man. I was just going to say, I used to love in Super Friends when the narrator would always come on and say, Aquaman, using his telekinesis, summons a pod of whales to his aid.
Aquaman would put his fingers to his temples, and those like
Totally
sonar circles would come out of his forehead.
Now that, like, I'm picturing the snake guy doing that in my head, and I'm loving it.
It's so unnecessary and stupid. Yeah.
It is so unnecessary. And like when they're in Kentucky, like we see him like right before that, he's like, "Oh, Rosie, we're going on a trip up north."
I think him and Leather Smith should team up and
start a company together.
Yeah, we should just hang out.
Snakes and leather.
This is great. I love leather, and you love snakes.
Let's go out and get some justice.
Jesus Christ.
Whoa, hang on a second, folks. We'll get back to the nerdery in just a couple of minutes. We want to take a few moments and just thank everybody so much for tuning into our show.
We're loving the conversations that we've been having on various social media mediums. I've been having some really interesting chats with people on Instagram and Twitter and stuff, and wanted to say thanks for listening and thanks for putting in requests and giving us feedback. Please continue to do so.
Yes.
Yeah, we really appreciate the feedback. We really appreciate the suggestions. Really happy to hear that people are enjoying the show out there. But if you are, we would really love if you would share that with your friends. Tell them about us. Tell them about the show. Tell them about it on social media. It's really helpful to us, and we really want to grow the show. So thanks for pitching in and helping us out.
And now back to the show. So we got to spend a minute at least and talk about an iconic vehicle, which is the one that Swayze is driving. I mean, there's some great classic vehicles, 80s vehicles in this movie, but the one that he's driving is awesome. And you used to see it everywhere in the 80s, and that would be the IROC Z.
Ooh.
Rather, the Camaro IROC Z.
Yeah, and it was in a very nice sort of two-tone gray, metallic gray, silver type scenario there, which
I dug it.
You know, you saw a lot of the red ones, but you didn't see a lot of those, so that was cool.
I feel like a lot of the, you used to see a lot of Italian guys driving the red ones or the black ones.
Wait, is that you being the stereotype there? Is that a stereotype?
Hey, whoa, hey, ho.
Guido's driving fucking IROCs? Are you kidding me?
Well, last time we saw a good IROC was in Out for Justice, and that was a red one.
It was. A Guido driving an IROC? That never happens. Did you guys notice the horrible brother song?
Oh my fucking God.
Dude, the brother song was actually, it was one of my nuggets. It was sung by Patrick Swayze.
I was going to say, this is a snipe-worthy thing here.
It is a Greg Allman song.
There's two brothers songs.
Yeah, there's another song about brothers that is definitely by Swayze.
The one by Swayze is the one where Liam Neeson's in the cage. That was the one that annoyed the Christ out of me.
They're both bad.
They are both bad. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, the brothers song was terrible, and I've got more to say on that. I'll save it for a little bit later.
Right on.
What is up with?
What is up?
Okay, two things.
What's the deal?
All right, what is the deal? The might have been the most cringy line of dialogue in the whole movie. Like Bill Paxton was so young in this movie, and I mean, this was I believe right after 2 years after he did Radar Operator, which is one of our favorite Paxton roles. He did this movie. And that whole speech he gives with that terrible dialogue, man, is so cringy when he's like, I feel like one of them little countries sitting in between two big countries. And both the big countries are saying they're going to help, but all they're really doing is trying to get each other. And I was like, huh?
Dude, here's a total Gripes of Kev style thing. Did you notice the skill with which Paxton was loading cigarettes into that vending machine?
Dude, I was super impressed by that.
Yeah, it was like he must have actually done some research and figured out how people do this, or he did it before in his pre-acting days or whatever.
Well, I mean, look, this is Bill Paxton we're talking about, Ben. This is a method level actor if he needed to be. So my guess would be that he was doing that and learning how to do that, went out and researched that and learned how to do that for this film.
That was exactly what I thought when I watched it too. Like a good call bringing that up because I was so impressed with that.
Yeah. So, whoa, that's some technique right there.
Yeah, he had it down, dude. Definitely. Like I remember when I used to load the smokes into the racks at the gas station that I worked at. You know, it was a very similar kind of feel to that.
Yeah, flipping them around in the carton and then grabbing big bunches of them. That's
totally, dude.
That's the next level shit right there, man.
So wait a second. Like, I don't want to take away from the awesomeness that is Bill Paxton's technique, but you're telling me that you were a former Zamboni operator and cigarette machine filler? Like, that's some pretty serious resume chops you got there, Mulvey.
No, I did not say cigarette machine filler. What I said was cigarette rack filler.
Oh,
because I worked at a gas station.
Okay.
I did two, as I call them, 2 tours of duty at a mobile station. As three different mobile stations. I did 2 tours of duty, and yeah, you had to load cigarettes in there. So it was like, you know.
Wait, sorry, no. Was it a mobile station or was it a Moleville station?
It was a mole.
A Moleville?
Yeah,
it was a mobile station.
You had a Moleville Fast Pass.
A Moleville. Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah.
A Moleville station, exactly.
Okay, I gotcha.
I took over the franchise, so I wasn't just the cigarette loader. I owned the company.
I love it. But yes, I sorry, that was a fantastic cul-de-sac ending up at a Moleville station. But yes, I did enjoy Bill Paxton loading a cigarette thing. That was amazing.
So good, right? He had, but all right, well, whatever. My comment was the whole, like, you know, I feel like I'm one of them little countries sitting in between 2 big countries. You know, like, unnecessary, over-explained analogy. Like, just, it was so dumb, man. And that's when I was like, not really feeling like.
Is that when you checked out?
Yeah, it was definitely a bad situation. But Ben, what else you got on your list?
I want to call that vending company up and see if they still have that Kiss pinball machine because I got to have one of those.
That was sick.
It was so sick. I fell in love with the Lord of the Rings pinball machine at one point with a buddy of mine when we were hiking back in the day, and I'm a huge pinball head, dude. I love that shit. And that Kiss pinball machine was legendary.
Yeah, that and there's an Evil Knievel pinball machine that
one
of the restaurants out here had in the lobby for quite some time, but I think the guy sold it and home with them.
Oh, right on.
I love me some pinball.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, the guy when Breyer breaks in to intimidate all the mob guys, like homeboy goes over to the cigarette machine and he's like going through the process of getting cigarettes from the machine, and the lights go out. And he goes, "Hey, it got dark." I was like, "Wow, you nailed it, dude. It did get dark."
That character was so ridiculous.
Oh man, that whole sequence is great. The other guy, when they're all on the floor, absolutely loses his marbles when Breyer shoots the Chinese food. Like, he's so mad that his Chinese dinner got ruined, he just flips out. And then when he shoots the water dispenser, all the water hits Adam Baldwin on the head, and he flips out even harder. And he's like, "You're dead. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. You just got me wet." He was so stupid, man.
Yeah, the Chinese food that reminded me of the peanuts in Cobra.
The peanuts. Oh, you mean when the dude? Oh, the peanut display in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck
yes.
Yeah.
What was the grocery store line?
I just died.
No, you didn't. You didn't. No, you didn't die. Kev and I died because we didn't remember the peanut scene. That shit's legendary. What did he say in the grocery store again?
He goes, "That's okay. I don't shop here."
"Hey, dirtbag, I'm drinking a warm beer over here." Was anybody else mildly annoyed every time they called Andres Katsulas Papa John?
Oh, dude, yeah. The whole time I was just thinking about Papa John's pizza.
That was so stupid. I wonder, was Papa John's, like, the pizza place even around back then? It must have been.
I don't know.
Enhance.
I know it was. It had to be because it was down south. And when I was in college in the 90s, I remember it being down south, but I had never heard of it before. I was like, "Oh, this is weird."
84, so not that far before.
There you go. Not far off.
In Kentucky. Maybe that's where this is all coming from.
Maybe that is.
The Kentuckians were actually coming up because of a trademark infringement to fuck up the Papa John's mob.
And how funny would it have been if when he went in to have his, like, sort of showdown conversation to sort of say but not say what was going to happen with John Isabella. If John Isabella was like, better pizza, better ingredients, Papa John's.
Maybe you need to be from Kentucky to get this movie. You know, maybe it all connects then if you're Kentuckian.
This movie is like a black pit that is, I feel like the three of us are trying to claw our way out of. It's so awful.
Like Boba Fett in the Sarlacc pit right now.
Oh, man.
Getting slowly digested.
Just going back to the Chinese food scene when Breyer shoots up the vending machine place. I'm trying to keep us on track. Sorry to interrupt. When Truman comes in the next day and Joey's like, "Oh, I don't know. It was Breyer. I don't know who it was. You know, we'll take care of it." And Truman's walking around the room and he like picks up but he's so tropey, dude. He picks up the container of the rice and he pours it out. And he goes, "Yep, I had to figure. Breyer hates Chinese food."
Right.
I was like, oh, God, please shoot me in the face. This is terrible, dude. It was awful. So when we get to the Hillbilly Whisperer scene with Ted Levine.
Yep. So let's go back to the beginning of the movie. Yep.
Did you going back to the beginning of the movie? Like, why? Like, he's got a locker.
Start this episode over.
He's got a locker in his room, you know, for like his clothes and stuff, whatever. I get it. And then on the side of the locker, there's a hanger with about 10 neckties on it. And I was like, why does this transplanted hillbilly living in a flop house where you can literally pay by the day have 10 neckties hanging off of his locker? What's up with that?
Which viewing did you pick this up on?
I don't know, man, but he headbutts the fuck out of that thing.
He does, man. You know, and then you get the light coming from the outside in, like towards the end of the scene before they walk out. I was like, where's that light coming from? Like the cops? Like, stupid. Like the necktie thing, just like, where did those come from? I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, where did they get
It was the bat signal.
Where did they get the shape? What did you say?
It was the bat signal.
You mean it was a giant H for the hillbilly signal?
That's how they found the cemetery.
You just filled so many plot holes with that, right? That one comment.
That's what I'm here for.
Hey, man, we appreciate you, bro. The ADR, this is not a gripe of Kev, but the ADR outside the flop house was just terrible. It was like you can literally clearly see Swayze's mouth is not moving. And he's yelling at the guy.
Dude, the ADR and the whole movie was terrible.
At least Swayze did the ADR, so I'll give him some points for that. But it was bloody terrible because you could see the guy's mouth wasn't even moving. Ridiculous. Oh, here's a great one. How did they afford that apartment? Okay, like, I don't understand how she is teaching violin in the living room and playing concerts at churches. He is a cop, and they live in, like, this really super nice, like, kind of...
It's like a brownstone.
Well, yeah, the Chicago equivalent of, like, a 2-story, brownstone. Like, how do they afford that place?
It was a grant for the arts.
Yeah. She put in an application. She said she wants to teach only really terrible children actors how to play violin. That was one of the little gripes that I had, was the like little girl. Like, fair, I'm not going to beat up on a 6-year-old actor, but like and then she just like stops playing and immediately walks away, and Helen Hunt's like, "Okay, that's your lesson for the day." She's like, she just like fucking ran off the stage. Oh god, that was funny.
All right, so I don't understand how they afford that apartment on those two salaries. Makes absolutely no sense to me. I also noticed that the blood used in this movie was so poor. It looked so phony. Like, it was so watery. Did you notice that? Like, when he throws the blood on her face?
That was the funniest scene.
It was so stupid. I didn't get what it was. I was like, oh, is that like watered down ketchup or something? Like, it didn't even look like blood. It was like, it looked like bad marinara sauce.
Maybe it was the sauce that Papa John was making earlier, the pizza sauce.
It was their prototype. It was, yeah.
It was a prototype.
It was red Kool-Aid, but
it was a prototype sauce from the secret labs of Papa John's. All right, my next gripe is one, he finds out that Gerald has been murdered in the beginning. Why does he park so far away from the crime scene? Like, he's a detective with the Chicago police. Okay, and like they show him pull up, stop the car, like in the middle of sort of the road or the warehouse area that they're in, and then he gets out and he walks like a freaking country mile to get over to.
Oh, is that a pun?
Like his cop buddy, who's like, "Oh, Truman, I'm sorry." It's like, why does he park so far away? He's a cop. He would be able to drive right into the crime scene, especially with an IROC.
I'll tell you why. It's because he looked at his Fitbit earlier that morning and realized he needed to get some steps in.
It's like, gosh, shit, I'm short on steps today. God damn it.
Oh, man, that was really great, Ben. Thank you for that. He was looking at his Fitbit. I was really disappointed that his IROC didn't have like a Starsky and Hutch style little single light to throw up on the dash or the top of the...
Shit, yeah, dude. The dash light?
Top of the roof, right? What's up with that, man?
But he had a light because at one point he fired it up. Or a siren. At one point he was driving down the road and there was a siren going.
He had the wee-woo.
He had the wee-woo?
Yeah.
He had the wee-woo.
Not to be confused with the bleep bloop.
No, God, no. People, folks at home, don't confuse the wee-woo with the bleep bloop. Jesus.
No. These are highly technical terms.
Okay, all right. So here's my last penultimate gripe of Kev.
Last or penultimate?
Both.
It can't be both, bro.
Why?
Penultimate means second to last.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that. I thought penultimate meant like beyond ultimate.
Nah.
You need to go back to school, little Kev.
Don't get down on yourself, Kev. It's fine.
Thanks, buddy. So my ultimate final nugget is Ben Stiller's desk in the office. I mean, did you see what was on that desk?
No, remind me.
There was a magnetic paperclip holder, a Chinese emperor lamp, and a gigantic bowl of Skittles.
No way. That's awesome.
Skittles? No.
I was like, this is so weird for like a mob outfit. Like, I'm not feeling like.
But that's perfect for Ben Stiller.
I know, but I was like, if he's a mob guy, like, why would he have the bowl of Skittles? And then he's got all these pictures on the desk as well. One of them's of Papa John. The other two I couldn't make out. Why is that there? Where are the Kleenex? What about the shaving cream and the dust?
I love that you've now claimed it as a segment, the Gripes of Kev segment. And just like Seinfeld is a show about nothing, the Gripes of Kev is like gripes about nothing. It's so perfectly you, man. It's so good.
That's perfect, man.
I gotta confess, Kev, that one kind of let me down. I wasn't really. You wound me up there, and I didn't really feel like I was getting it there.
I like the bowl of Skittles. That's good.
It was kind of like the end of the movie, really. It just didn't. Wait, hold on. Let me. You can ADR this in later. Skittles? No.
Now we have to do that and then keep that part in as well.
Yeah, okay.
It'd be like a quantum joke.
Skittles? No shit.
No fucking way.
Seriously, dude. Magnetic paper. This guy is a mob boss. Skittles, pictures, and a Chinese emperor lamp. Like, what is up with that?
Dude, it's Ben Stiller. He's like the 12-year-old mafia son. It's perfect.
He's not a mob boss. He's like a mob boss cadet. He's like ensign mob boss. He's like,
does he wear a red t-shirt?
Possibly.
All right, Ben, look, final note here. I'm sorry I let you down. Okay.
Oh, I thought you had another one, and I was going to be like, well, shit, it was the penultimate.
I was just going to say, it was the penultimate, dude.
No, I changed it. Remember when right before I said it, I said my ultimate final nugget.
No, but I thought you were about to drop one more, so I something about the way you phrased that.
That was perfect. That was fucking genius. I love it.
Okay, so you guys want to move on to the NDR?
Yes, please.
Please.
Bring it on home.
What do you got, Chad?
I have one nugget. There actually exists only two nuggets in this movie, and my one nugget, as with so many other movies, there were some notable people that were going to be playing Truman Gates instead of Swayze.
Ooh.
And I thought that one in particular was hilarious, but Michael Biehn, Harrison Ford, Kurt Russell, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Bruce Willis were considered to play this.
Are you serious?
But the one that I think is absolutely hysterical is Christopher Lambert was also considered.
Great. So you have 2 actors faking a Southern accent?
So Boo Berry with a Southern accent would have been pretty good. I mean, there's one other nugget that hopefully one of you guys will drop, but that was the only one I could find of note.
Okay, that was a great one. Mine may not be as good as that, but I'm going to drop them anyway. There are actually 3 films with this exact title, and they all came out in the 80s. And I guarantee you that the other 2 are better than this movie.
Probably.
Yeah.
No matter what they're about.
It's indicative that when you YouTube Next of Kin, this movie has the least amount of hits.
Yeah, there was nothing there, man. It was crickets all the way for any background searching on this one.
That's pretty bad. My next nugget is this. Okay, so let me do this in proper order here. Okay, so you said to save this for the nugget section. It's not really a nugget, but when he takes Briar in, right? So firstly, the let me handcuff myself to you, and then let's have a bar fight scene was great.
That was great.
And the sort of the topper on that was the dude at the bar.
Yeah.
Who like doesn't move except to click the receiver down so
Yeah, that
the
was
guy
amazing.
can't call the cops. I was like, that is so great. And then he takes him to jail, and we get this very Michael McDonald kind of semi what a fool believes ballad playing about 2 brothers being in love, which was just questionably creepy as well, man. And I could not stop thinking about Michael McDonald singing What a Fool
If it was What a Fool Believes, I would have been pretty stoked about it, to be fair.
I guess, but just like that beginning, it was like, you know, it had that kind of feel to it in the beginning. So that was my sort of, I guess it wasn't very climactic.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, Michael McDonald is a fucking legend. The dude is amazing.
He's so good.
Da, 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 da.
I love that song.
So anyway, there's that'll lead up to my actual nugget, which is like, okay, so we commented on like that song was terrible. It was like a ballad, like I don't know, it's just almost made me uncomfortable. The brothers sort of like Gerald sitting in there, like kind of like thinking about his brother. And Swayze sings one of the songs on this soundtrack. Okay. The nugget is this soundtrack, if you can believe this, has been out of print for many of years. That I can believe. What I can't believe is that it is a highly sought after collector's item going for very high dollar values on various different sites such as eBay and Amazon, if you can believe that. And I can't even believe that.
That's crazy.
That's my nug.
I like it. That's a great nug. I like the bait and switch there because I thought you were going to go with it turns out that a horrible song was partially sung by Swayze, but that was the side nug to your actual nug.
Totally, right?
Same as like Benny dropped earlier. That song and that scene made me just like, oh my God, my eyes were just like flipping around in my head. I had to see what it was about, and that's when I learned it was Swayze, which just made it better and worse at the same time.
I know. I can't believe he sung a song on this. It's like, I mean, whatever. He's a talented guy, so it's like when you take it in the context of this terrible movie, it's like, that's dreadful. But you know, it's like Swayze is like super talented. He's a really great dancer, you know, great actor, all that.
I'm sending this along. There's a YouTube playlist that appears to have the entirety of the soundtrack and other things that Patrick Swayze has sung.
So what you're saying is that you're sending through the free YouTube playlist of this soundtrack, which is going to devalue it on eBay now. Mm-hmm. You're deflating the market. I like it.
Well, it's artificial inflation anyways, really. Come on.
Right, fair enough.
Every time somebody spends $500 on this thing, they're not happy when they finally get it. They're
exactly.
No, they're not. And you're talking about a copy that's either like with the original like insert and it's vinyl or it's cassette, likely.
Yeah.
Deaths? I got like 3.
Star Wars for me.
And then you and I had a not knowing the Cobra scene death because that was pretty
Totally.
egregious.
Yeah, we deserve the shit out of that.
I gave myself what I now call the penultimate death for misusing the word penultimate.
That was pretty good. And then actually not misusing it, which is like a double death.
No, but there wasn't another nugget there. It was...
Yeah, but there was another note, which, made it funny enough for me anyways.
Fair enough. I thought it was a funny death that I didn't know it.
Benny, you must have died in there somewhere.
Well, he didn't.
He dropped some Star Wars knowledge, so...
No, I brought up the Sarlacc pit, and
yeah,
I'm not sure, but that might have been the first Star Wars reference. So
Ben's a firm believer in the multi-Star Wars death.
And then I still think it was the death when the peanuts in the supermarket and whatever thing went over your guys' heads.
We could take a murder, death, kill on that, but I disagree. I think the fact that me and Kev forgot such a critically important scene is our deaths, but that's fine.
Maybe I didn't die, but it felt like I died.
Okay, fair enough.
It felt like a death.
All right, let's rate this terrible movie.
All right, I'll go first, because why not? This movie is a 3.7, which is at the higher end of meh territory. I think that it is better than Out for Justice and worse than Raw Deal.
Is that it?
That's it.
Wow, that is the shortest rating you have ever given, bro.
Yeah, man.
Benny?
Yeah. Next of kin gets a child-sized compound crossbow without the bowstring.
Short and sweet.
Next of kin gets a next to zero. How about that?
Oh, we have a late-breaking dad joke death, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there you go. Late-breaking dad joke.
It's a non-zero sum, but I'm not really sure how much more than zero it is.
I like it. I like how short and sweet the rating section was. I would recommend people check this out, though. Like, even if it's to hate it, it was worth checking out.
Wait, I wasn't actually done.
Oh, okay.
Wow, one child-sized crossbow with no arrow or no string.
Compound bow with no bowstring. Yeah, not crossbow, compound bow.
Poof. That's low for you.
Ah, okay.
I feel like I know how to translate the subtleties, the underlying subtle subtext of your improbability-driven ratings, Ben. That is very low and very terrible. I'm not going to give this movie a 1. I'm going to give it a 5. I don't think I've ever given a 5 before. I've done some 6s and some 3s, whatever. There's a lot of things we still didn't talk about, but again, like I said before, the idea of the movie is okay. The fact that it's against the mob is terrible. The work they did in the beginning of the film was great as this ramp up and a setup, but it just doesn't pay off. And there's too many stupid things. But the fact that there's so many up and coming, or actors that go on to do amazing things, like really talented, capable people in it, really are what saves this movie, because it's pretty damn terrible. And at times it's devoid of tension and energy, and I think the third act just is like has no air in it whatsoever. And in fact, there are even times when Swayze seems like, like, here we go again. If I can just get through this scene, that'll be fantastic. You know what I mean? So it's got some nostalgia, and it's funny. This is the first time that like a film has actually diminished my nostalgia factor. Because usually that stays as a static feature, like that nostalgia is always there. But this movie is terrible, man, and awesome at the same time. So a 5 it gets.
Fair enough. I didn't think it was terrible. I enjoyed it, but
yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable and terrible. I mean, there was a lot of things working against itself constantly. I mean, Liam Neeson like dialed in Briar. Like, there's no question about that. You know what I mean? Like, he was great.
If you want to see some good actors that have gone on to do some great movies, do a really shitty movie together, then this is your movie.
This is the movie for you.
Exactly. This is their starting out movie. They just all happen to be doing it together. I mean, look what Helen Hunt went on to do. Well, Helen Hunt went on to star with Bill Paxton in the now classic Twister, which we all love.
Twister, dude.
We will have to do that someday. Yeah.
Oh my God. We do have to do it because that movie is redonkulous. Algorithm, what do we got going on next week?
Next week, we are doing the first half of the new season of The Mandalorian, which I'm stoked about.
Oh God, I can't wait.
I can't wait. I am super amped.
So That's it. I hope you guys were, or rather, you know what? This time I'm not going to say we hope everybody enjoyed the show. I'm going to say thank you all for tolerating our rambly sort of trip around the edge, the rim of this black hole of a movie. Shoulder to shoulder. Oh, that's so dreadful.
Oh my God. That might have to become a Brucemas Carol.
Oh man, now that is an idea right there.
All right.
So we're going to say goodbye, folks. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on another time.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode, folks. You can find the show notes for this episode in your podcast app, choice, or at our website, ebd.fm/episodes/81. If you'd like to support the show, there are numerous wonderful ways to do it. You can rate, or more importantly, review us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Reviews go a long way to helping other people dive into the EBD pool and the EBD universe. You can also tell a friend to check out the show. When you're out and about, driving around, hanging out with your good friend, tell them to check out the show. It's fun. You can find us on all social media using the handle @EBD Podcast. So join in on the conversation. We spend a lot of time on Instagram, and that's about the size of it. Thanks for joining us on this one. Stay tuned next week for Mando Part 2, and we'll see you on another time.
Beady, beady, beady. Stop into it.